Welcome to a new video in my home automation series. And a couple of weeks ago, I think I alluded when I started reviewing the iHost that I also received a second device from Sonoff, and this is the TX Ultimate. And the reason I'm having this really low lit video, because the whole thing about this TX Ultimate is that it has some, light show. And I wanted to, show it better how it looks on camera, but I really have to turn the lights down, not because they are, very subtle effects, but I do have a very bright overhead lamp, and it would just, make it really dim. So I think you are seeing this much better now. And also, please consider that at the moment, this is just, how the device looks like. So normally when you mount it on the wall, then these LEDs are going to be flash against the wall. So I think the light effect is going to be even more pronounced. But I think for the camera, on the camera, it even looks better with a little bit of distance. So the light show just next to the the light switch is not so bright, so I think it even shows better in the camera. So if I want to quickly summarize what it is, I mean, you have seen the T1 and the TX series touch switches from Sonoff, and this is exactly that. It has exactly the same feature with the addition of the lights, which you can see. So there are LED lights all over the back, so you can see them here, and they are on the side, so obviously they are going to illuminate the wall surface behind, or basically all over it. And I don't know if it comes through the camera, but there is also like a humming sound because it has also vibration motor built in, so you will feel whenever you manage to touch any of the switches. And by the way, the other thing which you probably also noticed, that it also has sounds. And then you have a couple of things that you can configure. So you can, you have if you double touch, then the light show comes on. So this is, you can configure a couple of different light shows, and then you can turn it on. And then you just have a normal indicators as well. So at the moment I've configured, so there is a pink indicator light when any of the gangs are on, and when I touch it, so there is an animation and also sound animation. And then there is a different indicator which is, at the moment, it's blue and it's on the top when the light is switched off, and everything is configurable, and it all sounds really, really good. But I think in the practice it just feels really, really good. But I had so much other use cases in mind which would be really practical, but unfortunately the way it is implemented, it cannot be really done. But again, this is the first version. Maybe it's going to be possible in the future. Maybe there are going to be API versions, so it's going to be a lot more useful. But still, I mean, it's an interesting thing. I mean, I don't know if I really would want something like this in my house, have all these lights, whether I really need them. But it's up to you. Do you think it will be useful? And by the way, let me show you some of the features. So this is like just a simple night light, so orange. And then you also have this party, which is even more vibrant. And then you have something which they call leisure, which is like like a chasing light. And then you have colors, which is, chasing in a different way, and more colors. And you have the childhood, and that's the one which is running. So this is more smoother transition between colors. And you have this Viper, which is like, it's the colors going all around, and it's changing and going back and forth. And the other one, which is called Fairy, and the other one, which is called Starburst, which probably the most dynamic of all of these. I wanted to get this out so you have an idea what it does. I think the childhood looks good because it's slow and subtle, but still it's vibrant enough because it has a lot of colors. So how we should do this. So, I mean, of course, I want to focus on these light features, but I'm going to just go through the whole stuff because you still have all the usual suspects and the inching and everything. And in terms of a switch, I mean, it's just like a TX series. It has the same connections, it has the same features, it has all the inching and everything. So you're not really losing anything, but of course you shouldn't. But you are getting also this nice user interface, these colors, if this is something that you are after. Actually, I was thinking that maybe besides all the cool factor and the party factor, maybe this could be very useful for somebody who is like a hearing impaired or deaf, because there are some interesting, voice and doorbell functions in it, which I think could be quite useful. But as I said, it gives you these light effects, but then again, the way they implement it in the scenes, there are a lot of features which I would have liked if they have included, but it is not available at the moment. Okay, I think that should be enough introduction, and I move the camera a little bit up, and also I turn on the lights, so you won't see the light effects so much, but it is definitely working. So this is why I said it is, it's fairly strong, but if you have like a well-lit room, then you are not going to see a huge, light show. Obviously, it's a couple of LEDs, so it's not really strong. And also you can see the case which is next to it. It's very mysterious. It doesn't have any specs, so everything is black, and then obviously has the colors and everything. So it shows like, how it looks like. And in terms of the general look and the design, they haven't really changed a lot from the TX. I mean, it still, shows Sonoff and sort of the same depth. I think there is more rounding on the button faces, and also I'm not really sure. Yeah, I think you can see that now, that there is a very nice finish on the buttons as well. So the two buttons, so this is a 2-gang version. So the two buttons have this matte finish, but then there is a dividing line in the middle, which is sort of like a shiny light. That's a very nice touch. I quite like that. And I think I'm just going to bring in the overlay the listing, but I think there is a black version and also there is this white version. But more interestingly, there are some other things that you can get for it. So I was given these two switch faces. So you have this one, which is like a starlight. So it's a black one. It's like, I don't know, comets or snow. And again, it has the same finish. So this is matte. And then in the middle, there's a shiny line. Is really, really nice. It's and you just pop this off and you can easily replace it. And also, and I've also received another one, which maybe you can use for like a kid's bedroom. So it's more like, playful, blue and pink, and again the same dividing line. And of course these designs would differ if you have a 1-gang or a 2-gang. So obviously they're trying to make it more versatile, just especially if you don't want the same design all over your house. And since I started going through the physical layout and the outside, I just want to just turn it over so I can show you the back as well. The construction is, again, it's very similar to the previous one. So you can pop this the front off, and then you have access to the screw holes on the back. So this is how you screw it on the wall, and then you pop the front cover on, and yeah, that's how you service it. And on the back we have the usual things that we have for the TX and the T1 as well. So you would need the neutral wire, so that's the blue one. So you have a neutral input, you have a line input, and then depending on whether you have a 1-gang, 2-gang, or a 3-gang version, you have live output 1, 2, and 3. Obviously for me the third one is not connected. And just like in the previous switch models, the relay is a 10 amp relay, so it supports, like, I mean, for Europe it's, let's say, 2000 watts or thereabouts, but I think it's okay for a usual lamp that they usually don't go to that high consumption anyway. So that's the general layout, and of course it is a touch switch, so you touch and then it switches the channel on, and of course you can touch again, and then I've noticed that it has this double touch feature which turns the ambient light on and off, which of course you can do it from the app as well. And as I also mentioned previously, when you touch it, then there is also a well, not the light show and the sound, but there is a vibration motor, so you can also feel that. I haven't really tested this on, mounted on the wall. So maybe in some houses, I'm thinking maybe in wooden houses, it would create way too much vibration. So I don't know how much that would be usable. But the nice thing is that you definitely get a tactile feedback, just like you have on your iPhone when you press the home button and you can feel that something is happening. Maybe this is a little bit stronger than the iPhone, but it definitely works nice. So let me go over the app features. And first of all, it is one of these newer type of devices. So when you add the device, you select the Bluetooth pairing. So it's going to find your TX Ultimate very quickly. It's going to pair very quick, definitely quicker than the older Sonoff models. So that's definitely nice. And now you can see that it is added to my account. And from this, it just looks like any other switch. And then if you go in, then you can see the two channels. So this is channel 1 and channel 2. And then you have a couple of buttons for the ambient mode. And then you have the schedule, the timer, and the loop timer, which used to be like, round buttons on the bottom. But now they are like these sort of labels. So this is sort of like a new layout, but really the same features. And on the main user interface, you have the two buttons. And again, it works exactly just like the others. Let me switch off the ambient mode. So at the moment, it is configured that I have a light, a very faint blue light on the top. So it shows that the channels are off. And if I turn them on, then I have a pink light on the button, which shows that the channel is on. And of course, this is configurable. We are going to go there. Let me just finish with the sort of like the usual suspects, the schedule. It works exactly just like all the other schedules. The only difference is that besides setting channel 1 and 2, whether you want to switch them on and off, you can also do that with the ambient light. And that's one of the limitations that I wanted to mention, that it's like one of those, the early light strips and also the light bulbs, that whenever you are in scenes or in the schedules, the only thing you can control whether you want them to be on and off. You can't really set the color or the effect, which means that these lights could hold a lot of information depending if you could configure the lights, the colors or any of the other, the effect, whether for per scene or per schedule. But you can't really do that because the only thing you can do is turn them on and off. So this is why I said in the beginning that it lacks some of the features. Maybe not so much in the schedules, but in the scenes that I'm going to show you later on. So timer is again same thing. You can just say like, okay, maybe I turn on the this light feature, and in half an hour I want to turn it off. So you can just use the timer for that as well. And finally, you have a loop timer. Again, works exactly the same as the other one. And actually, I was thinking about this. Maybe I can, create a loop timer. So I have a 1 minute loop when, let's say, so the 1 minute loop when I actually want the ambient light to be on, and then I have a 59-minute loop when the ambient light is off. So if I would do this, and if I enable this to start on, let's say, midnight, or any hour, right in the hour, that means that the ambient light would turn on for a minute and then it would turn off. So sort of like you have a visual indication whenever a full hour passes. To be honest, this is the first thing that I could think of where the loop timer would be useful. So if you would set up something like this. But yeah, I'm not really sure if you would want this, but yeah, that's an interesting use of the loop timer, and also the fact that for each of these functions, not only the channels, but the ambient light feature is also configurable. Okay, let me talk about the ambient light. I already mentioned you just in the beginning of the video that you can turn it on, and then in the ambient light have these modes. So I've gone through these modes. So basically you have these 8 presets. You can't really change any of them, and everything is some sort of color animation, with the exception of the night light, which is just an orange, constant orange light. But all the others were like, you know, blinky blinky and color chasing. I mean, it was mostly color chasing thing. Thankfully, it was not the, you know, the very aggressive blinking. So I think that's definitely a big plus, because I think I've mentioned for every single Sonoff light strip or LED product in the past that I would never choose any of these aggressive flashing lights. So you can turn it on and off, and you can specify what the one of the 8 modes is going to be. And again, whenever you are turning on the backlight, sorry, the ambient light, you're not really turning on any specific effect, but you are just turning it on and off. Now let me go into the settings, and again, let me just go through the standard ones, which you know, it's the same for all the other products as well. So you can assign it to a location in a specific room. You can share it with other users. You can also create a group. So again, if you have multiple of these TX lights in the same room, you can just group them together. You can enable or disable the LAN control. There is an option to control sub-devices, so like the S-MAID or, you know, switches. So you can just pair switches to this one, which again is quite useful. You can enable the push notifications, so you get a notification whenever somebody's, you know, switching it on and off. There is a power on state, and there is one for every single, well, for each of the channels separately. And this also includes the new delay function, which I think we have seen for the first time for the Ultimate series, so the TH or a POW Ultimate. That's nice, actually, I think. And you also have the inching setting, and this again has the option whether the inching is auto on or auto off. Again, this was introduced in the TX and POW and TH Ultimates series. So that's nice, but this is something that we have got for all the other devices as well. And yeah, we have logs. The real difference here is the customize option, and this is where basically you customize all the light functions and the light options and the vibration. So as I mentioned, you have the ambient light. That's one thing that you can just turn on and off, and then you have a separate customizing what should happen visually and audio visually whenever you are turning it on and off. So when you turn the device, when you turn the switch on, again you have a set of light effects that you can choose from. And these are going to be different from the ambient light because they are always a single light effect. So, you know, actually, let me just turn the lamp off again so you can just better see these effects. So, light 1 is like that. So like shimmering lights. And then light 2 is a bit of a chaser action. Light 3 is like a back and forth chaser, and this is something like a back and forth, probably not all the way through. And light 5 is just these blinky on a few places. So you can choose either of these, and then you can also choose a sound effect. So this and that. So these are the 5 sound effects. To some extent, they remind me like old, Nokia chimes from the early 2000s. So you can choose either of these, and of course you can just have only sounds or only lights or neither of these, and then you can specify where the indicators should be lit. So now we are configuring the on indicators, and if these the channel is on, as you can see here, I want my indicator on the bottom side of the switch, so it's going to be on this side. So you can choose whether it's going to be on top, on the bottom, or on both, or on both sides. And then you can specify the color as well and the brightness. So now if I switch it on, so it plays light effect 5, sound effect 5. The indicator is, because now it's on the bottom, and it's pink because I set the pink color, and it's 64, and I can increase that, and now it is brighter. So that's how you do it for the on, and then you can do the same for the off. So it can be a different light effect, a different sound effect, and then you can configure it that the off indicator for me is on the top. So you can see here the blue light is on the top, and then this is blue, and this brightness 24. So I think it makes sense. So maybe if if the switch is off, you want the indicator light to be more subtle and a different color, and then when you turn it on, it could be a stronger light. So that's really cool customizing option. And of course the color also help you. And you can turn the vibration on and off. You also have this network indicator, which is only going to indicate something if it's in offline mode or LAN mode. So normally when it's connected, I don't see any extra indicators, so it's not going to make any difference. And you also have a do not disturb. So if I turn this one on, so at the moment, we are between 7 p.m. and 7 a.m. So what is going to happen now is, if I switch, you don't see the sound effect, so you don't see the light effect, you don't hear the sound effect, and the off indicator is also turned off. So you still get the vibration and you still get the on indicator, but nothing else. And if I turn it off, then the animation comes back, and also you can see the off indicator on the top is now showing because the second channel is off. And also you can read it here on the screen. So I think that's actually, there's a lot of customizing here. There's a lot of options that you can do. I'm not really sure how much you would want all of these, or whether any of these would get a little bit, old once you start using it. But these are all the options that you have. And actually there's also a very nice button on the top right, which says copy. So if you configure this for one of your TXs and you want to copy those settings, you can just do it with these buttons. So that's nice. So I only have one, so I can't really do that. So these were all the settings and all the different customizing options that you can do with the various colors. And then finally, which I always do, is let's look at the scenes, because there are a few things here which could be quite useful. So first of all, tap to perform. What I wanted to do is Smart Device and TX Ultimate. So you can set up a scene, obviously, whenever either channel 1 or the channel 2 is turned on, either by pressing it or something. And it also supports 2 slide gestures. So you can do like a left slide, and then you get this visual indication that it has detected the left slide. Sorry, that was a right slide. And you can do the same with the left side. And it doesn't do anything with the outputs, but as you can see, you can configure a trigger in the scenes for these gestures. So that's nice. I think that's novel, because of course you can have, besides operating the 2 outputs, now you have some extra actions that you can configure on this device. So that's actually smart. And it also shows me that, the touch interface behind these is not as basic as the previous TX and the T1 models. And if I do, let's select tap to perform. So what I can, what I can do on this device. So you can, well, I can obviously do the usual things. So on each channel, I can turn it on, off, or change, or reverse the current state. So same. And then on the ambient light, again, I can just turn it on and off and reverse. This is what I said is like, I can't say that, turn on the ambient light to the night mode or to the childhood mode, because all I can do is, set it on and off. But you can do an alarm and a doorbell as well. And these two basically just start a default sound, like an alarm sound or a doorbell sound. I think probably these are the most useful features, to be honest. So I have created a very simple, tap to perform. Let's not save this. Oh, sorry, this one. So I created this very simple scene, which executes when I tap on it, and it's going to turn the ambient light on, and then it's going to trigger the doorbell, which is going to be just the doorbell sound, and then after 10 seconds, it would, well, the doorbell sounds turns off automatically, so it plays the doorbell like 5 times and it turns off, and then after 10 seconds, I turn the lights off as well. And if I show you this, and as you can see, even if I have turned off the, well, if I have left the ambient light off, it looks like that it still, turns the lights on whenever it plays the doorbell. And then maybe when it plays the alarm, then, the visuals are slightly different. So you could see that before the animation started, there was just orange light. So, with the doorbell, it plays, then it shows an orange light, and probably for the alarm, it shows like a red light. This is really good and a really good use case, because let's say you have a doorbell, which could be like a Sonoff Mini, or it could be like an S-Mate, which is connected to this one using as a sub device, and you can just set up the scene. So when somebody pushes your, Sonoff Mini, or it could be like a Zigbee button or whatever, then it starts this. Oops. Okay, so it starts this doorbell action, and you can configure this for all of your TXs around your house. And even if you wouldn't hear the doorbell because in your other part of the house, you still, you get a notification that somebody ring your doorbell. So, and the same for the alarm. So I think these are really good features. And with this, we really got to the end of all the different features of this device. But actually, just let me go back to what I mentioned in the beginning, that when you create a scene, and, well, even either in the scenes or in the configuration, the fact that there is only these 8 preset animations available, I think that makes this a little bit less useful, because I could think of so many different ways I could use the light, the color, the brightness, or the pattern of the lights to convey various information to the user, and rather use that as the animation. So for example, think about if there is an important information that you always want to know about, like either outside temperature, or I don't know, tank level, or UV radiation, or something like this. And then you could use the TX to control the light from, let's say, from blue to red in terms of how hot it is, or maybe you have a TX at your front door or around your front door, and you want the lights to turn red in the morning if there is rain expected during the day. So you would remember to take like an umbrella. That would be really good, but you can't really do that because there is nothing in the actions or in the scenes to say turn on the ambient light to red, or to a certain color, or a fix, anything other than what you have used previously. So there is a light, there is an animation, but it only conveys one single information. So I was thinking that I don't know how many LED lights they have around the perimeter, but if you could address them individually, you could have like, think about it, you can have like two gauges, like you light the left side and the right side with different colors, and then depending on which LED you light, you can just indicate like a level or a gauge or some sort of value. But yeah, unfortunately can't do that at the moment. And I understand that this would be really difficult to configure because you have to configure so much information. You have all these LEDs, you can control the colors individually, but these are the potentials that you would be able to use if you would have full control of this TX, well, TX Ultimate. But again, I think these are good ideas. I think it would be quite useful, especially if you start using this with some sort of home automation system with, let's say, the iHost, and instead of playing around with the eVLink interface, maybe there would be other easier way to program these light effects. So never say never, but I just wanted to mention it because I think there is a lot of potential in it, and I could think about 10 more scenarios which I couldn't do with the current firmware and the current version, but also I wouldn't say that it would not be possible to do it in the future. So I think that would be all for today about the TX Ultimate. As usual, if you are interested in this device, you would find the purchasing links in the video description. But I think this would be all for today. Thanks for watching, and hopefully see you in the next video.